Imagine a land where empires enter with full force and leave in fragments. A place where the phrase graveyard of empires isn't just poetic license, but grounded in centuries of history. That land is Afghanistan. And in the shadows of its mountains, a lesser-told story has played out. The story of Pakistan and its decisive, but often covert role in the early U.S. operations that followed the terror attacks of September 11, 2001. Stay with me. What exactly was Pakistan's role? Why did the U.S. rely on it? And yet why did that reliance come with dangers, paradoxes, and unexpected consequences? Today, you're going to discover the full truth. The alarm bells started ringing on the 11th of September 2001 when the Al-Qaeda terrorists struck the United States. In response, the U.S. launched what became known as the Global War on Terror. The invasion of Afghanistan followed quickly as the U.S. demanded the Taliban regime hand over Osama bin Laden. They refused, and on the 7th of October 2001, the U.S. commenced military action. GEORGEWBUSH, library.gov, Imperial War Museums. But what often remains hidden is the role played by Pakistan behind the scenes. Pakistan wasn't simply a bystander, it was a fulcrum, a country with overlapping loyalties, strategic anxieties, and a border that touched the very heart of the region the U.S. sought to dominate. Understanding Pakistan's role, the cooperation, and the contradictions is essential to understanding why the U.S. mission in Afghanistan turned into 20 years of war. ctc.westpoint.edu to congress.gov to the Cold War legacy and Pakistan's gateway role. To understand the post-9/11 era, you must be aware of the precedent. During the 1980s, when the Soviet-Afghan war raged, Pakistan served as the conduit and staging base for Mujahideen fighters backed by the US and Saudi Arabia against the Soviet Union. Wikipedia, that arrangement left Pakistan's intelligence agency, the Inter-Services Intelligence (ISI), deeply involved in Afghanistan's conflict and deeply aware of the Pashtun tribal geography, cross-border flows, and the tough terrain that stymied empires. Pakistan thus emerged as both strategic ally and wild. Fast forward to 2001, and the U.S. again needed access. Bases supply route sand. Someone who knew how to play the Afghanistan game. Enter Pakistan. The U.S. needed Pakistan not just as a partner, but as a gateway into the war theater. In short, Pakistan's cooperation was indispensable. Why Pakistan agreed and why it hedged from the U.S. perspective. Pakistan was extremely attractive. A nuclear-armed, large-population country in a vital region sitting next door to Afghanistan. Congress.gov, but from Pakistan's perspective, the calculus was more complex. Pakistan had long supported the Taliban, or Islamist militant groups in Afghanistan. For reasons of strategic depth, vis-a-vis India, and fear of encirclement. Human Rights Watch, when the U.S. asked for full cooperation, Pakistan faced internal costs, domestic backlash, militant attacks, regional instability. Thus, Pakistan made a deal. Yes, we will partner with you, but we will also protect our national interests. Pakistan's strategy became a dual game of cooperating with the U.S. while maintaining ties, safe havens, or influence with groups that served Pakistan's regional aims. Many analysts have concluded that this dual game cost the U.S. dearly in the long term. ctc.westpoint.edu. The early years of U.S. operations and Pakistan's role when the U.S. deployed forces into Afghanistan. Pakistan provided critical logistical support, supply lines, air bases, intelligence cooperation. Without Pakistan, the U.S. war would have been far harder. Pakistan's border train knowledge, tribal contacts, and transit routes across the Khyber and to the Afghan north were invaluable. But the irony, Pakistan also served as sanctuary for the very groups the U.S. was trying to defeat. The Taliban, after being toppled in late 2001, regrouped across the border in Pakistan. The ISI's support, or at least tolerance, of Taliban safe havens has been documented. A Brookings study noted, Pakistan gave it critical help and assistance. Without it, the Taliban would never have recovered. Brookings thus, from the early years onward, Pakistan's role was double-edged. On the one hand, key U.S. partner. On the other, structural contributor to the insurgency the U.S. was fighting. Afghanistan, the graveyard of empires. And what that means. The phrase graveyard of empires is often used to describe Afghanistan, with good reason. Conquerors, from Alexander the Great to the British Empire, from the Soviets to the United States, have found Afghanistan's mountains, tribal networks, and fragmented politics far tougher than anticipated. PBS.org. When the U.S. launched its operation, it faced not just the Taliban, but decades of layered conflict, ethnic divisions, warlords, corruption, cross-border sanctuaries. Pakistan and Afghanistan's interlinked geography meant the war could not be contained within Afghanistan alone. Pakistan's border, region's tribal areas, Pashtun belts offered a porous frontier where militants could flee, regroup, and resurge. This fact transformed U.S. operations from a quick strike after 9/11s into a long-term occupation, counterinsurgency, and nation-building effort. Key turning points and Pakistan-U.S. frictions. Over time, the U.S.-Pakistan relationship became increasingly strained. While Pakistan accepted billions in U.S. military and economic aid for cooperation, the underlying lack of trust, differing strategic goals, and Pakistan's domestic politics eroded the friendship. Congress.gov, for instance. Pakistan was criticized by U.S. officials for not doing enough to cut off militant safe havens on its side of the border. At the same time, Pakistan felt the U.S. invasion of Afghanistan backing anti-Pakistan insurgents in its neighbor undercut its strategic depth. Visits West India. ctc.westpoint.edu. One illustrative incident. In 2011, a border clash at Salalah between NATO-US forces and Pakistani forces killed 24 Pakistani soldiers and caused a serious breakdown in cooperation. Wikipedia. Meanwhile, leaked documents show us intelligence saw Pakistan's double game as a major obstacle to success. nsarchive.gwu.edu. Why Pakistan remained so central and so conflicted? Why did Pakistan continue to cooperate at all? The reasons: aid, international legitimacy, strategic necessity. But why did it not fully align with the U.S.? Because Pakistan's national security calculus placed India, Kashmir, regional influence, and the Afghan frontier as top priorities. US demands sometimes clashed with those priorities. Pakistan's military intelligence establishment saw a full U.S. alignment as undermining its influence in Afghanistan and exposing Pakistan to internal insurgency. Thus, Pakistan's policy was one of calibrated cooperation, providing access and support when necessary for U.S. goals, preserving space for its own interests. As one analyst put it, understanding Pakistan's strategy requires analyzing the conflict from within Islamabad's own strategic calculus. ctc.westpoint.edu. Consequences: victory, stalemate, or defeat. From one perspective, the U.S.-Pakistan partnership achieved certain objectives: overthrowing the Taliban regime in 2001, dismantling Al-Qaeda as safe havens, and denying Afghanistan as an easy terrorist base for a time. But ultimately, the war morphed into a long insurgency, NATO mission, enormous expenditure, and by August 2021, FULLUS withdrawal. Council on Foreign Relations and Pakistan's role in that outcome is both enabling and inhibiting. It enabled the initial invasion. It inhibited long-term stability by allowing insurgents sanctuary. In the end, the phrase graveyard of empires echoes not just for the US and Soviets, but for any strategy that underestimates local geography, local politics, and the complexity of alliances. Afghanistan remains unstable. Pakistan remains critically tied to that instability via the border, through militant spillover, and through strategic ambiguity. Why this matters today for you as a viewer? This story matters because it shows how realpolitik, geography, and strategic alliances shape global conflict and how even powerful nations can be limited by uncertain partners. Pakistan's role demonstrates cooperation is never simple. Strategic goals can diverge. Alliances can carry embedded contradictions. It also matters because the legacy of this war influences today's geopolitics. India-Pakistan rivalry, U.S. policy in South Asia, Chinese influence, militant networks, not to mention the humanitarian cost in Afghanistan and Pakistan's border regions. Final takeaway: the reality beneath the rhetoric here is the hook you came for. The truth is that Pakistan's role in early U.S. operations was both essential and ambivalent. Without Pakistan, the U.S. would have faced far greater logistical obstacles. With Pakistan, the U.S. gained access but at a price. Strategic compromise, hidden sponsors, a border sanctuary that lived on. That ambivalence helped turn what was meant to be a swift counter-terror operation into a two-decade quagmire. In short, when the U.S. marched into Afghanistan, it did so not alone, but stepping through Pakistan's doorstep. And at the same time, Pakistan held one foot inside the U.S. camp and another in the shadows of its old alliances. That duality reshaped the war, prolonged the conflict, and left a legacy that continues today. So next time you hear Afghanistan, the graveyard of empires, think of Pakistan not just as a neighbor, but as a gatekeeper, a partner, and a paradox. The reality of this partnership is far richer, far messy, and far more instructive than headlines suggest. Thank you for watching. If you found this enlightening, please like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into global geopolitics.